Today, I decided to make some coffee cups. I take each of these cups and I've already measured out 2 pounds of clay each. With this cut, I make both just about a 1 pound espresso cup. And with each one of these cups, I either finish the whole firing process, either scrap them and sell them. In this case, I wedge all of my clay to first get rid of all the air bubbles, which when throwing will lead to weaker areas in the clay and make it harder to throw in general. And wedging makes it more homogeneous and the clay flows much better over the wheel. As I wedge my clay, my earthenware clay, the consistency of it is very firm right now, and these cups are just a practice design, at least for now. I don't really plan on setting up a shop, but if I need to, I will. These cups were a fun thing to make and a useful thing to have around in general. I measure all my clay out, wedge it, cut it, throw it, and finish the whole process. In this video, I'll show you my throwing procedure, my trimming procedure. I cannot show you glazing because I use a community kiln, so I can't glaze process it. I immediately get right into throwing. After removing some pieces of dried clay that has accumulated from the side of my wheel, I start throwing it. The process I'm doing right now is centering clay. This is where you take water and try getting the shape of the clay into a smooth, straight line. What this does is it takes all of the clay particles and forces it to go all in the same direction, often smoothing the clay out and making it much easier to throw with. And centering the clay often provides a stable surface to work on without any ridges, inconsistencies, and centering clay on the potter's wheel is similar to wedging, but just on the wheel. Since this clay is much stronger and much drier than the clay I usually work with, it takes me much longer to center this. My centering process goes of wetting the clay enough that I can cone it up. Coning up is squeezing the clay until it forms a big cone and pushing it back down. Because you push it back down, when you do that, it aligns most of the clay particles. Often you would put a center cone up and cone down many times. But this time I decided to get right into opening the clay. Opening the clay is where I stick my thumbs into the clay, causing that hole in the center. That hole is going to be the base of our cup. As I pull out and keep the shape of this, I keep spreading it further and further out to get the slow shape of the cup that I need. As this cup slowly goes bigger, this cylinder, I keep stretching it out and using the pool of water in the bottom to use another depth and keep bringing it taller and taller. As the clay gets taller and taller with every single bowl, as the shape of this cup becomes more refined and you can see it, I will often use my fingers, pinch, and put my index finger on the rim of the bowl. What this does is that after every pull, the bowl will become stronger instead of more fragile. Because when that rim is weaker or less even and thinner, it has a higher chance of cracking or flopping downwards. So I use my index fingers and flatten the rim so it's much stronger. Right here, I am tapering in the rest of the cup to get the taller, more cylindrical shape that I need. Afterwards, I keep refining the shape and making sure the rim is nice and accurate. Once I have had my final shape, I will do a few more pulls just to make sure that it's all nice and even. I will make sure my shape is the exact form that I want, and I will add any last finishing touches I need to make sure this shape is the right I need. For this one, I've decided that it is slightly wider than I would have liked, and I wanted a more cylindrical V-shape cup instead. I take my rib, I remove the clay that is condensed at the bottom. After doing that, I make the trimming process much faster. I'll take my sponge, I'll put it inside to get rid of any excess water that has been at the inside of the bowl. The reason why I do that is if there's any extra water and I decide to leave it there, it will weaken the bowl in that area where the water was, and it will turn almost to mush. I'm currently using the rib to make sure I get an even flatter version. After that, I have decided that this is the mug that I wanted. I stop the wheel and I flood the wheel. What this means is you would add enough water that when you drag your wire cutter tool, it prompts the clay to scoot aside. As you can see on this first pull, it's moved a little bit. Second pull, it moved a good amount. And this third pull, it got stuck on my wire cutter. As I drag it through, a slice of clay gets cut off. And that is the final result for the bowl right there.